What's up guys, it's Tearless here. Welcome back to the Dreadscar Rift for the final time. This is the second video in the two-video series looking at Demonology Warlocks. In the first video we looked at the removed, changed, and new abilities for a Demonology Warlock. In this video we will be looking at the PvE and PvP talents to round out what has been changed for this specialization. As you saw in the first video, a lot of changes have been made because they lost the ability of metamorphosis and they lost demonic power, and so they're running off of soul shards now, and they've turned, you know, what used to be a spec about half about you turning into a demon and half you controlling demons to you being a spec entirely about you controlling demons. It is all about you controlling demons. So in the last video I showed you some of the new models that were for some of the reasons. Here you can see again, here is Viola, my succubus. She is the new succubus demon model that desperately needed to be upgraded. She looks much better than before. And in this video I will be showing you both Infernal and Doomguard and their upgraded forms as we get down the PvE talent list. So let's go ahead and get started with this. Once again, I apologize. Demonology is not necessarily, or I should say Warlocks in general, are not necessarily my best. It's not my best subject in WoW. Rogues only being worse than that. So I'm going to do my best to hopefully give you guys my best opinions on what's going on with Demonology Warlock, but it is limited in scope. So with that being said, let's look at the 15 tier. First we have Shadowy Inspiration, which is your demonic empowerment now causes your next Shadow Bolt to be instant. So it's a nice little passive buff there that you have that is available to you. The next option here is going to be Shadow Flame. It generates one soul shard. I believe this is different from the old Shadow Flame. So I'm going to go ahead and use this here. It's a 14-second recharge. Lobs a ball of Shadow Flame at the target, dealing 22,000 Shadow Flame damage immediately and another 34,000 Shadow Flame damage over 8 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. So I'm going to use this here because I don't remember it lobbing anything. I remember it being kind of just something in front of you, and do note that I have 2 stacks of it, which is kind of nice. So you can see right there, I launch it forward. That is Shadow Flame now. I remember it being something akin to Dragon's Breath, and that is not the case anymore. So that is the new Shadow Flame. I don't know how that necessarily fits into a rotation, but it could very well fit into any type of rotation. The third option here is going to be Demonic Calling. Shadow Bolt has a 20% chance and Demon Wrath a 5% chance. If you've forgotten what Demon Wrath is, it is basically your AoE ability as a Demonology Warlock. It causes your demons to deal damage in an AoE spark around them. Let me go ahead and use this so you can see the purple shadow up here around my succubus here. So that's what that is what Demon Wrath does. There's Demonic Calling. Shadow Bolt has a 20% chance and Demon Wrath a 5% chance on each target to make your next called Dreadstalkers cost no soul shards. So if you're using this, this may be an easy way to deal with Dreadstalkers. Let's go ahead and see if I can actually get this to proc. We will send Viola in there and see if I can get this to proc. There we go, right off the bat, and did not cost any soul shards for me to pop that. And then I can use it again, and all 3 of them will now have access to that ability. And there we go, once again it pops up. It does not reset your cooldown, so do take note in that, but it is an option there for you. Let's call Viola back. We have Impending Doom. Doom also summons 1 wild imp when it deals damage, so that is an option to you. We have Improved Dreadstalkers. Call Dreadstalkers now also summon 2 wild imps. This is actually a pretty cool option. And in all honesty, I probably expect this to be the option taken in terms of what you can choose as a Demonology Warlock for single target. Because when you think about it, you want to have as many wild imps as possible. So I'll go ahead and use this here, and we're going to attempt to do this again. See if we can get the actual. Oh, there we go. I got on the first one. That was really lucky. Call those in. and then I can call Hand of Gul'dan in, and then all of a sudden I just have a mass amount of demons attacking the target. They're all attacking faster, dealing tons of damage. I can have them do AoE damage. There's a lot going on there. So I have, I think, 7 imps down there dealing damage, which is pretty cool. And most of that's from the fact that I've improved demon stalkers. Now my other option is implosion. Demonic forces suck all of your wild imps towards the target and then cause them to violently explode, dealing 45,000 shadow flame damage to all enemies within 8 yards. That awkward moment when you realize your trinket had procced and then all of a sudden it jumps off. So let's look at implosion here. I'm gonna go ahead. Demonic calling seems to be a really nice way of building up soul shards, it seems. So I'm going to send her in, and we're going to use Demon Wrath here. It seems to be a really easy way of building up soul shards. It actually seems to be easier to build up soul shards this way than by using Shadow Bolt. So with that, we will use Hand of Gul'dan now, and summon down, get 4 imps, and then we're going to use Implosion here, and as you can see, they just jump forward and explode on contact. 52,000 Shadow Flame damage, 100,000, over 100,000 for a critical. There's a lot of damage going on there with Implosion. So that's going to be your AoE option, but if, 52,000 is a lot. That also could easily be your PvP option, if you think about it. I mean, let's just, I'm going to send just an example here. I'm going to send her down here. I'm going to have her do, I'm going to channel Demon Wrath and build up as quickly as I can these soul shards. And then I'm going to try and get 8 stacks here of wild imps. That's what I'm gunning for, is 8 stacks of wild imps. If I can get 8 stacks of wild imps, and then on top of that use Implosion, we'll see just how much burst damage I can do. I have now all those imps there, and I just exploded 8 imps on the target, each doing, looks like 73,000 Shadow Flame damage with 143, there's a lot of damage there. Just single target, 8 imps dealing 73,000 shadow damage, that is absurd damage. So honestly, I can see easily Implosion being the PvP option, because they jump instantly to a target and deal tons of damage, and then basically you want that burst damage in this kind of situation. Improved Dreadstalkers, I think, will be something more that you probably will see out of PvEers. But Implosion could be strong enough, just single target alone, definitely in an AoE fight, but a single target alone to be the popular option in this tier. In the 45 tier, this should look pretty familiar. You have Shadow Fury, which I believe mostly functions as it does on live. However, it is a 1.39 second cast, which kind of stinks. It does, however, last for 1 second longer. So you are going to have to deal with the extra you get the extra second, but you actually have to cast it now, which is a real it's a real downside for PvP. So if you're disappointed, I don't blame you, and I can see people kind of moving away from this in PvP now because of that. Mortal Coil still functions as it does on live. Nothing has really changed here. And then we have Demon Skin. Your Soul Leech, which you guys now know is baseline. It now passively recharges at a rate of 1% of maximum health every 1 second, and may now absorb up to 20% of your maximum health as opposed to 15% of your maximum health. So originally it can only build up off of, I believe, your demon's damage. That's the only way for for Soul Leech to build up. Let me double check the talent here, the passive here. So no, all single target damage done by you and your minions. So all the damage you deal, single target wise, builds up your shields, and then on top of that, this would allow it to build up 1% every second as well, and it'll go all the way up to 20% instead of 15%. In the 60 tier, first, let's go ahead and go with, on this side, we have Hand of Doom. Hand of Doom also applies Doom to all targets, all enemies it hits. So, this can be interesting, because if you take Impending Doom in addition to Doom, you have a chance to really do some damage here. So we'll just go ahead and use this here and call Doom down, and then I will use, you know, basic single targets and so forth. Now Doom should be on all 3 targets at once. I'm going to build up my soul shards, so I have my soul shards ready. And then when it explodes, we should have imps appear on all corners. And there you go. 3 imps appear, another 4 imps appear, and then you can use something. You can't use implosion, which is kind of a bummer there, but you can't use demonic empowerment to make them all attack faster. And then you just have a lot of imps doing a lot of damage, which is pretty cool. And then the cycle continues. You know, you continue to have Doom explode, so you'll constantly always have kind of that, you know, that, I guess, that influx of imps coming in from this. And as you can see, I've got tons of imps down there, and with demonic empowerment, they are just doing tons of damage to the target. So that's actually a pretty awesome ability there. It's an option there for you. Second option here is going to be Power Trip. Demonic Empowerment has a 15% chance to generate 1 soul shard when used in combat. Demonic Empowerment is what I've been using, so that's pretty cool. I just got Stolen Power to activate, which I couldn't get to activate in the last video. It's an actually artifact weapon ability, and it just makes my Shadow Bolt deal 100% increased more damage. And I got the other artifact weapon to activate on that. What are the possibility of that? Jeez. The last option here is Soul Harvest. It increases the damage, increases your damage and your pet's damage by 20%. Lasts 10 seconds. Increased by 2 seconds for each target afflicted by your Doom, up to a maximum of 30 seconds. So you can have this up to a maximum of 40 seconds depending on how much Doom you have on your target, which could be a lot. Well, no, it couldn't be because you don't have Hand of Doom. But you could have Doom on your target all over the place. But I'll go ahead and just show you what Soul Harvest looks like. There it is. That is a spell visual for Soul Harvest right there. In the 75 tier, we have Dark Pact. This functions exactly as it does on Live. On Live, it's actually called Sacrificial Pact. It's in the 45 tier. It is now called Dark Pact. Works the same. You have Burning Rush, which is in the 60 tier on Live. It still functions the same as it does on Live. Cannot bring you below 100% movement speed, etc. Still works pretty well. Increases the movement speed by the same amount as well. It does deal 1% more of your maximum health in damage every 1 second though, so be careful how much damage you take. Demonic Circle. I have to talk about this a little bit because this frustrates me. So, Demonic Circle is back as a talent, as I promised in the first video. However, it's not split into 2. You summon the circle, and then it transforms into teleport, okay? And then you can teleport back whatever you'd like, but at the same time, you cannot get rid of that portal for 6 minutes. Before you had them separated. It's kind of frustrating this way, because what you have to do is you have to escape out of the portal, the buff in the top right hand corner, to get rid of the portal, and then you can summon Demonic Circle, and it still saves the cooldown on your Demonic Teleport, so it's not like you can refresh it by putting a new one down. I really don't like this. I wish I would still have it in 2 separate abilities. What do I know? I am not a master Warlock player. Maybe PvPers and PvEers will like this better. This looks like it's something that will be really nice for PvE. You're able to set it up in somewhere that you normally is a safe spot for PvE in a raid boss, and you can always port back there, and that'll be nice and easy for you. As long as, Burning Rush and Dark Pact aren't better. But then, on the opposite side of things, I think it really stinks for kind of PvP in how they have to deal with Demonic Circle. And they use it, their situations of using it are much more important, I think, than in PvE. So, I don't know. Maybe they'll bring it back, maybe not, I'm not sure. I really saw no reason with the old version. There was really no reason to get rid of it. In the 90 tier, we have our Grimoires again, if I pronounce that correctly. Actually, they used to be in the 75 tier. Now they're in the 90 tier. Grimoire Synergy. Damage done by your demon has a chance to grant the other one 40% increased damage for 40%. That's a lot more. It used to be 15% increased damage for 15 seconds. Now it's 40% increased damage for 15 seconds. And I cannot remember... I believe it is the big icon that appears over the head of the target, like right there. that shows it. So you saw the little icon over Viola. That is demonic synergy right there, and she has it currently. And if I, it's separately for each of us. It's not the same for each of us. So if I move in close here, and I start dealing damage, um, we'll see if I can get it to proc on either one of us again. I will continue to use Shadow Bolt and see if I can get it to proc again. It procced many times in the first video, so I'm going to stop this after a little bit if I can't seem to get it again. But it's just a big kind of skull explosion type visual over your head, and that is what, there we go, right there. So you can see it right over here. That's what popped over Viola, is what Grimoire of Synergy is. Grimoire of Service functions as it does on life. However, now it has 100% increased damage, your second demon. That's something that was not there before. That is a new addition this time around, which is really nice. Then we move to Grimoire of Supremacy. You are able to maintain control over greater demons indefinitely, allowing you to summon a Doomguard or Infernal as a permanent pet. So this basically takes over Demonic Servitude, and it gets rid of the old Grimoire of Supremacy. I'm going to pop this here, and I'm going to show you these brand new pets, so you can see what they look like. So this is the new upgraded model of a Doomguard. It looks really nice. And then once 3 minutes are up, we'll take a look at the new Infernals, which also look really nice, but I really do like the look of that. So, really impressive. Going back to our talent tree, we have the final tier. First is Soul Conduit. Every soul shard you spend has a 20% chance to be refunded. I'm not sure how popular this will be. Demonology is by far the best at creating soul shards out of the 3 Warlock specs. So maybe this will be overkill, maybe it won't be. It'll be up to theory crafters to decide on that. But you really can't go wrong with more soul shards. In PvP, I would assume though, in PvP this might actually be taken, because I mean your soul shards will be coming out of Doom, Shadow Bolt, which you actually have to sit there and cast. And then it'll come out of Demon Wrath, which you can cast while moving. So if you have a melee, if you're trying to just do damage on the run as a Demonology Warlock, you're going to be able to use Demon Wrath and have your pet deal damage as long as your pet can stick to the target, which it should be able to. So that is an option. You should be able to create, some soul shards out of that, but otherwise this could be an option in PvP, whereas I think it'll be less appealing in PvE. Demon Bolt, which will replace your Shadow Bolt. I do not believe this replaced your Shadow Bolt before, so that's a little bit different. It launches a ball of demonic energy at the target, draws energy from your demons and launches a ball of demonic energy at the target, dealing 18,000 chaos damage. Damage is increased by 20% for each demon you have active. So that's a little bit different from the way it used to be. It used to be each Demon Bolt further amplifies further Demon Bolts, increasing damage by 20% and cost by 100%, up to 40%, reduced haste, stacking up to 10 times. So it's kind of like a Arcane Blast version. That was the old version. The new version is now, it replaces your Shadow Bolt, okay? Still generates a Soul Shard. And then it's increased for each demon you have active. So, let me see, is 3 minutes up? 3 minutes is up, so let's go ahead and summon the Infernal so we can see what this looks like. And then this is the brand new Infernal. You're going to see a lot of Infernals in this expansion anyways, because it is the Legion Invasion. You're going to see a lot of Infernals, I promise you. So, let's go ahead and send this guy in. And then on top of that, we're going to go ahead and get as many demons as I possibly can out. We'll go ahead and use Demon Wrath and get Soul Shards up. One thing that's interesting to note there, I could be wrong, but it looks like the AoE on that Infernal is larger. I do not think that's going to be the case. It still should be 10 yards, it's just the visual looks bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and use this, and then I'm going to use Hand of Gul'dan, and then I'm going to start using Demon Bolt and see if I can do some more damage. Right now, Demon Bolt is hitting for 43,000 chaos damage, and we'll see, that was a crit. So we'll see how much it hits now It still hits for 43,000. Or that, no, now it hits for way less. That was a critical. So let me go ahead and use Demon Bolt again now that I only have the Infernal up. And quit critting on me. I don't want to see a critical strike because I want to see what this actually does without it. 21,000 damage. So the imps do have an effect on how much damage you can do with Demon Bolt. I was afraid that they would not, but they do in fact have an effect on your Demon Bolts. So this is an interesting option, and this visual is just really cool. How can you not like that spell visual? It's much better than Shadow Bolt, that's for sure. So some changes there. It replaces your Shadow Bolt, generates 1 Soul Shard, and damage is increased in a different way. It's more focusing on that theme of you controlling a lot of demons. Last here is Summon Dark Glare. Summons Dark Glare for 12 seconds and launches eye lasers at all targets affected by your doom, dealing 22,000 shadow damage. So let's go ahead and grab Hand Doom here, so we can have as much as we can have here. So I'm going to go ahead and throw you into the mix, and then I'm going to use Hand of Gul'dan to put Doom on everyone, and then on top of that we will summon Dark Glare. I need a Soul Shard real quick, and summon Dark Glare right here, and then there we go. It's going to fire off to all of the different targets with Doom on it. You can see it's kind of like zigzagging across to everyone there. So that's really cool. And Dark Glare lasts for 12 seconds, so it's got a 50% uptime. So this will be an interesting thing to add to your rotation. It's another demon that you have in your rotation. Let's check real quick and see if it actually is affected by Demon Wrath. It is in fact affected by Demon Wrath. Not that it would be much of a big deal because it's actually a ranged pet, so I don't know how effective that will be. And as you can see, he's completely worthless unless you have Doom on the target. So gotta make sure you have Dooms on your targets for him to actually be worth anything, for it to be worthwhile at all for you. But that's everything for a Demonology Warlock PvE talent tree. Some interesting options here. I think my favorite options are all about getting as many wild imps as possible and using Implosion. I think Implosion is my favorite talent in this tree, and probably I would use Demon Bolt to top it off with all that. I'm not sure what else I would use in terms of these other abilities here, whether it be Grimoire of Supremacy, maybe just having a permanent Infernal would be really nice. Not sure what I would use on the 75 tier, but definitely I really do like Implosion and anything that allow me to have as many little wild imps as possible, and then using Implosion on top of it to do a lot of damage and increase their haste, their damage, and just deal a lot of burst damage. That's something that I would have a lot of fun with as a Demonology Warlock. Everyone is different. The theory crafters will come out with their best option. I mean, we still have to see if Shadow Flame fits into a rotation very well, Demon Bolt fits in pretty well, or I should say even more so, Summon Dark Glare fits in pretty well. We'll have to see if those actually fit in pretty well, or if it's going to be more bare bones instead of and more sticking to the passives. We shall see. With that, let's go into the honor talents. So, the way PvP works in World of Warcraft Legion is you'll start at level 1, you work your way all the way up to level 50. When you reach level 50, you'll be able to prestige and start back over. Why would you want to prestige and start back over? Well, you get little vanity items like pets and mounts and so forth. So you may want to do that. Otherwise, you may not want to, because then you'd have to restart learning all your talents again. You start at level 1 with Gladiator's Medallion, you work your way all the way to level 10 Master Summoner. And then you can get Adaptation at level 13, and then go all the way down to Call Fell Lord, and then the last tier will end with Call Observer, and that'll be at rank 46, and then at 50 you get the chance to prestige. So that will be your option. With that being said, let's look at the first tier. When you first get into a battleground, you'll get an Honorable Medallion. Your Honorable Medallion is like an heirloom trinket. It's a 3-minute cooldown. You can replace that with the Gladiator's Medallion for this first option here. That'll give you your basic 2-minute trinket. The second option here is Adaptation. All loss of control effects with a duration of 5 seconds or more will activate your Honorable Medallion spell, but only causes it to incur a 60-second cooldown. This could be a popular option. This could be, this is something that I see popular with, a lot of DPS in the game. Something that I can see DPS using. I don't see healers using this because I feel like healers need more control over when they actually are able to get out of crowd control effects. Now you still have your honorable medallion, so you can still use it, but it'll cause adaptation to go on its own 3-minute cooldown as well. So you have to pay attention to that. The last option here is Relentless. I really only see tanks and maybe a Resto Druid taking this. Basically, the duration of incoming crowd control effects is reduced by 25%, and it will replace your Honorable Medallion. In the second tier, this is going to be your ranged DPS tier. You have Train of Thought, damage increased by 15%. Being attacked will cancel this effect for 8 seconds. I really only see... in PvP, I really only see Marksmanship Hunter doing this because Marksmanship Hunters can laugh at you from 60 yards away and deal damage. Um, the other classes cannot do that. So I can see Marksmanship Hunters taking this. It's great open burst damage, but in all honesty, I don't see it as a very popular option. You have Mind Quickness, increases haste by 6%. You got a lot of cast spells as a Demonology Warlock, so this might be nice. And then there's Initiation. Critical strike chance of your damaging abilities and attacks increased by 30% on all targets at or above 80% health. Not necessarily the best for Demonology Warlocks, and I only say that in comparison to other classes that, like, crit's really big for them. Like, a good example would be Fire Mages. So, with that, let's look into the Warlock-specific tiers. First, we have the Curses coming back. These are back from, gosh, 3 expansions ago? You have Curse of Tongues. They're bringing back abilities that Blizzard got rid of, and they really had no good reason to get rid of them. They just got rid of them for pruning's sake. This time, I believe they did pruning correctly. They got rid of all the passives that were stupid, and instead brought back all the cool abilities, like Curse of Tongues. Forces the target to speak in Demonic, increasing their casting time of all spells by 30%. You have Curse of Weakness, reduces the target's physical damage dealt by 25% for 10 seconds. That's a 20-second cooldown. Curse of Tongues on a 15-second cooldown. And then there's Curse of Fragility, reduces the target's maximum health by 20% for 10 seconds. This is one of the best examples of being able to, like, look at what you're up against. Like, you can look at the battleground, what you're up against, and then be like, okay, I see they have 2 tanks. I'm gonna go Curse of Fragility. Or, they're really melee heavy. I'm gonna go Curse of Weakness for this match. That's what you can do here. It's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. In the 4th tier, we have Essence Drain. Whenever you heal yourself with Drain Life, the enemy target deals 10% reduced damage to you for 6 seconds, stacks up to 5 times. This is pretty cool to have. It's so broken on an Affliction Warlock. There's no doubt about it. It's broken on an Affliction Warlock. But, and so I wouldn't be surprised if this is somehow nerfed. But it is definitely a strong option to have, even for if you're not an Affliction Warlock. Your next option is Casting Circle. Summons a Casting Circle for 20 seconds. While inside the Casting Circle, you are immune to silences and interrupts. You have a lot of casted abilities as a Demonology Warlock, so this may be something that's popular. However, in PvP, you never generally want to be in one place, like just sitting there. You never want to just be a tower, so I don't know how popular this will end up being. We will see as the PvP season goes on, when Legion starts. We have Nether Ward, surrounds the caster with a shield that lasts for 5 seconds, reflecting all harmful spells cast at you, so that's pretty nice to have. A nice little reflection there. With that, we move into the Demonology specific tiers. We have Pleasure Through Pain. While your Succubus is active, your shadow damage is increased by 15%, and the cast time on your Shadow Bolt is reduced by 0.5 seconds. So Shadow Bolt is 1.85 seconds. I'm going to guess that this also applies to Demon Bolt. Let me go ahead and switch here, and we will see. Yes, it applies to your Demon Bolt as well. So it is an option for you to take. This will require you to use a Succubus as your main pet. Considering that you want a melee pet, considering what you can do with Demon Wrath, in terms of PvP, I would expect I would expect a lot of probably Demonology hunters to be taking something like this, or to be taking the Felguard, or to be taking, if they have Grimoire, take an Infernal or a Doomguard. not something that's ranged. I don't expect him to take something that's ranged. With that, let's go ahead and look at Call Fell Hunter. Summons a demonic Fell Hunter instantly to instantly spell lock the enemy target. Call Fell Hunter cannot be used if your current pet is a Fell Hunter. So this allows you to have a Fell Hunter without actually, having him. I don't know how long he lasts. It looks like he's just there to spell lock, so this could be a very popular option because I don't see many Demonology Warlocks actually using a Fell Hunter, so this could be a very powerful option for them to have. You have Singe Magic. Command your summoned imp to remove all harmful effects from the target, but deals 3% of their total health and fire damage. Your imp must be your current active pet to use Singe Magic. So you have to have an imp out to use this one. So basically with this tier, you're being kind of forced into this. This really stinks. If you want to use anything other than a Fell Imp or an Imp or a Succubus, you have to choose Call Fell Hunter. And then you can't choose a Fell Hunter as your basic pet if you choose this. So you are not allowed to have a Fell Hunter as a PvP pet. If that was your selection, you cannot. I would guess that most people would only be bringing a Fell Hunter anyways for spell lock, so that isn't really too big of a deal. But it's something to notice there. But you basically have buffs for 2 different pets if you choose to go with them. If you don't want an Infernal or a Fell Guard as your pet, and instead want to go with, or even a Void Walker if you want a Void Walker, it'll be up to you to decide. In the last tier, we have Master Summoner. Your Call Dreadstalkers is now instant cast. That's pretty awesome. That's one thing I really don't like about Call Dreadstalkers, that it's not instant cast. Remember that these Dreadstalkers, like, leap to the target when they actually are summoned. I'll use it right here. They just fly out there. So it's a quick way to get damage out there really quickly. They don't do the most damage, but they can help with Demon Wrath and allow you to build up soul shards pretty quickly. So there's an option there. Remember, Demon Wrath can be used while moving, so it can be like something on the run. You have Call Fell Lord. Summon a Fell Lord to guard the location. Any enemy that comes within 6 yards will suffer high damage and be stunned for 1 second. 2 soul shards, 1.5 minute cooldown. I have not tested this in PvP, so I'm not quite sure how this works effectively. The reason why I don't do these in PvP is because it requires me to go into a battleground, and when I go into a battleground, it takes a long time to get in the battleground, and then it's kind of it's an unstable environment for me to actually like discuss changes with you, and so that's why I don't do this out inside a battleground. But this looks like something where I literally have an AoE effect of where this Call Fell Lord will be summoned. I don't know if it'll be a visual effect on the ground so people will know to like stay the hell out of this area, or they'll be like it'll be an invisible barrier and you can cross over it and you'd be like, oh man. I mean, I'm sure this Fell Lord's gonna be sitting there like menacingly, like a total boss, like a bouncer, and you put him on like the bridge in Capture the Flag, the Twin Peaks Capture the Flag. I can't even think of the name of it. And basically he can just sit there all menacing on the bridge, blocking anyone trying to come in, which would be kind of cool. Depends on how large his radius is and how much damage he actually does. The last option here is Call Observer. Summons a demonic observer to keep a watchful eye over the area for 20 seconds. Anytime an enemy within 20 yards casts a harmful magical spell, the observer will instantly deal 5% of the target's total health and shadow damage. So both of these are very much the same, which is very disappointing. You basically have 2 pets that are AoE centric, that basically they guard a certain area. I don't like spells that are limited to a certain area. I really don't like them like that. And so that kind of is disappointing to me. That forces me into something like Master Summoner, which is a pretty good option, but it's disappointed that I'm disappointed that I'm forced into something like that. However, something like Fell Lord can be really powerful in some of the capture the flag type matches, whereas I can see something like Call Observer being very powerful in a node-like match. You get into a node, you can put the Observer on top of the node that you're fighting on, and you can deal a lot of damage in that area, which is actually pretty cool. What really matters is, looks like Observer is a 20-yard range AoE radius. So I would say I'm about 20 yards from the target right here, maybe. I'm about 20 yards from the target right here is what I'd say. So, well, I mean, I could probably test this by coming back here and seeing just, okay, so, whoops, I fell down right here. So 40 yards is right here. So go halfway in between us and the fell imps, it's about right here. So between here and the fell imps is about 20 yards, and I have an AoE radius. So it's a large radius in which Call Observer has kind of, you know, to protect its area. The Fell Lord only has 6 yards. That's really easy to avoid. 6 yards is like right here. So it's going to be a small area. I don't know if Call Fell Lord will be that popular. Call Observer can be very popular in a node type match. You know, your Battle for Gilneas, your Wrathy Basin. I think it's going to be really strong in a match like that, and you'll be able to decide before the match when you get in there. You'll be like, okay, I'm in a Wrathy Basin. I'm going to go with Call Observer. Otherwise, you may go with something like Master Summoner. It's going to be up to you. So with that, that's everything for a Demonology Warlock. That's the last time we'll be here in Dreadscar Rift, unless I come here to do like an overview of what the class order hall looks like for Dreadscar Rift. For Demonology Warlocks. I mean, Warlocks in general, excuse me. But that's everything for the artifact weapon, the spells and abilities which were in the last video, and then the PvP and PvE talents and all these new really cool models that they've given to demons as well. They're all really cool, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. I really do think that Demonology will be fun. They've done a great job of making it all about summoning tons of demons to deal a lot of damage. I'm excited to test out Implosion and see what I can do with Implosion. In terms of just like having a whole bunch of fell imps and then using Implosion all the time. I just find that to be probably going to be, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to be able to use in PvP. Going through the other Warlock specs, Destruction is very much how it is, and Affliction is returning to that old Burning Crusade style of combat. So I really do think Warlocks are still going to be in great shape in World of Warcraft Legion. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next Tier List Out.